Hello and welcome to a very special edition of Everybody Has a Story with Jeff Seltzer. I am your host, Jeff Seltzer. I'm going to keep the intro short here because we have a lot of content in this episode. So what you're about to hear was a live podcast that I recorded on January 26th at PWJ's first independent wrestling show. I was a sponsor of the show, as I mentioned in previous episodes, as you've probably seen in social media. Lots of great interactions. And overall, it really was an amazing day. I had a lot of fun. My buddy Daniel helped me out all day too. So much fun, all that kind of stuff. What I do want to throw in there, though, is the fact that this was a live episode in a very, let's say, live setting. Lots of people walking around. Music was loud at times. Random people just, talking as they talk. So there may or may not have been a curse or two in this episode. I can't confirm or deny that. So, if you're a little sensitive to cursing, just be mindful or be aware of that. Additionally, there were a couple of times throughout the episode, because this was on location with iPads instead of, in my study here, the volume or the sound may not necessarily be as, let's say, quote, perfect as it is here. So just, if the volume goes up or down a little bit, just be ready for that. Additionally, usually I say, listen to or watch this episode. And either way, you'll have a lot of fun with it. This episode, while audio is great, I think video is that much better. So this is one where I would say, obviously, if you're in the car, definitely do audio. But if you have the opportunity to either watch on YouTube at Everybody Has a Story Pod or to watch via Spotify, definitely go for the video. As I think it'll add another level to it. You'll see the interactivity. You'll see some of the famous names that you would normally have seen at a wrestling show or that we were talking to as well. So I think that adds another level to it as well. Before going into it, do want to also thank you to Gilbert, who ran PWJ Live, the wrestling show on January 26th. He did an amazing job. For a first independent show, this is the first show he ever ran. He did an incredible job. I would say go check him out, PWJ Cards on Instagram or pwjcards.com. Additionally, my two friends that helped me out throughout the day, Daniel and John, thank you so much. Lastly, a quick list of everybody that I talked to on the podcast this week. So I did talk to and interview 17 people, which was amazing. Definitely a lot. I think it's over the course of like 52 or 53 minutes you're going to have coming up. But people who are, let's say, on TV every week from AEW Wrestling, TNA Wrestler, various notable people, some up-and-comers, friends of mine, friends of the show, some, let's say, super fans as well. So we had Alan Angels, referee DM Stevens, superfan Mittens, GCW and WWE ID superstar Marcus Mathers, Emily J, Zeta Steele, also an ID superstar, Tarzan, who I had never heard of before, but now you'll hear from him, Hian, who I was a sponsor for a match, Ray Sanchez, another fellow podcaster who I met, really awesome guy, really great talking to him, Deanna Parazzo, AEW superstar, so you'll see her on TV Wednesday nights and Saturday nights. You can also see her on this podcast you're about to see. Steve Macklin from TNA Wrestling, also amazing. Sean Grayson was a sponsor of the wrestling show. Daniel Ireland, who this week joins the two-time club, as this will be the second time he'll be on the show. Dana, also a two-time club. Dana was from the very first episode on Celebrity Autographs. My buddy Andrew Husvar, and two of my longest-reigning friends from back when I was in college, Jen and Lori, who I used to go to wrestling shows with. So with that said, I think we've said enough for an intro here. This is going to go in, starting off with a really cool PSA from ring announcer and all-around awesome person, Sam Laterna, in the conversations. Then we'll have a really cool close at the end of the show as well. So take a listen. Let me know what you think. Go check me out at Everybody Has a Story Pod on Instagram. Remember, go check out Jeff Seltzer for all things jeffseltzer.com. You can check out jeffseltzer.com. Whoops. And beyond that, next week will be a great episode with Marcus Brandon, and maybe somebody will join the three-time club on being on the podcast. So with that said, have an amazing time. Listen to all of this. Let me know what you think, and we'll talk more next week. Thank you.
Thanks, we got a really cool podcast in the house. Everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer is the name. And I think we should head on over to because he's interviewing wrestlers, all kinds of personalities in the industry. And if you think that you have a cool story to share, be sure to come on over because Jeff is here to interview you too.
Hello and welcome to Everybody Has a Story with Jeff Seltzer. I am your host, Jeff Seltzer, as always, but this time it's a little bit different. I'm not in my home office. I am not in my living room. This week I'm at the Mecca in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey for a PWJ show called Damaged Goods. The last few weeks I've been talking about how we're going to be a sponsor. The day's finally here. I'm hoping to spend most of the day talking to various wrestlers, various fans, hearing about their experiences, how much they love wrestling, how much they're enjoying being here today. So I don't know what to expect. Maybe I'll get one person, maybe I'll get 11 people, or 111 people. We'll see what happens. But with that said, I did want to give them the usual plugs. So as always, you can check us out on Instagram at Everybody Has a Story Pod. You can find us on YouTube at Everybody Has a Story Pod. My personal Instagram is at Seltzer77. For all things Jeff Seltzer, you can check me out at jeffseltzer.com. If you want to reach out to the show directly, you can email the show at everybodyhasastorypod@gmail.com. If you have something you want to share with me, if you have pictures, if you have any kind of business ideas or want to sponsor me, that would be amazing. Just email me there. With that said, a reminder, we are available on all streaming platforms: Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Pandora, iHeartRadio. If you can find a podcast there, you could probably find my podcast. With that said, there's going to be lots of cool things coming up. We'll see how the show comes together. Stay tuned. And we are back. I am here with professional wrestler Alan Angels. Alan, it's great to see you. How are you today?
What's going on? I'm great. How are you doing?
I am awesome, thank you. So for those of you at home who don't know, Alan Angels is a world-renowned superstar. He's wrestled in TNA. He's a former Dark Order member from AEW. Really exciting to have Alan on the show. So Alan, first of all, thank you again for joining.
Oh, thank you for having me. I don't know if I'm supposed to look at you on the screen or if I'm just supposed to look at you in real life. I don't know.
It's great. Whatever works for you is great.
Okay, all right.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. So you are wrestling today at the PWJ show, Damaged Goods. Can you tell us who you're wrestling today?
Yeah, so I got a Fatal 5-Way. I got Casey Navarro, Brandon Toon, Diego Hill, and can't read the last name, but yes.
That's
Fatal
fair.
5-Way.
Awesome. I'm sure it'll be an amazing match. I mean, some of the stuff that I've seen from you over the years, whatever, has been outstanding. Huge fan of yours. Really awesome to see. Anything that you want to try to get out there, anything you want to support, promote, would love to hear from you.
Yeah, I mean, just, all the normal stuff. Just try and watch me as much as you can. As a wrestler, we all put our bodies on the line every week. So anytime that I'm wrestling, just make sure you're on my Twitter, on my Instagram, and trying to watch some shows. That's really what matters most to me. A lot of people try to promote this and that, but I just want you guys to watch the wrestling,
Awesome. I appreciate it, Alan. I know you got a busy day ahead of you, but again, thank you so much for joining the show. And have an awesome match tonight. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
And we are back with referee DM Stevens. So DM, first of all, it's great to meet you. Thank you for coming to the show. And thank you for being on the podcast.
Oh, great to meet you as well. Thank you for having me.
Of course. For those of you that don't know, DM Stevens is a professional wrestling referee. Obviously, on every single show, you've got announcers, you've got a production team, you've got wrestlers, you've got referees. Every single position and every single role is important. They all are part of storytelling. DM, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into refereeing?
Gotten into refereeing, it was completely by accident. So I started out as a wrestler, and then after a couple of years, I said, I'm going to step away for a little bit. And then it turned out that, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Well, the feedback is a little bit weird for me right now. So, okay, so I first got into wrestling as a wrestler. Once, after a couple of years, I had to step away for family-related issues. And then there was a friend of mine that passed away, and I was asked to referee a match in honor for him. And I told the guy who was organizing it that, with my mentals, I can't do it. I don't want to hurt anybody, nothing. So he said, will you at least referee the card, or at least the match? I said, yeah, sure. I came in, one match turned into half the card. And then it just was off to the races for a year. Had to go back and deal with more family stuff, get away from there. In 2019, this is where I'll advocate, go to therapy, people, because it's that's what helped me get back. And then I've just been back at it ever since, consistently since 2019.
Awesome. So obviously transitioning from being a wrestler to a referee, it's a huge change, but at the end of the day, you're also still part of the show. You're still taking bumps and stuff like that.
Yes.
Do you enjoy the actual, being referee? Do you enjoy kind of stepping aside and not being the feature, but still being obviously out there on camera and being part of the show?
Yes, it's still pressure because, high profile matches that you're afforded the opportunity to work, you're still with these men and women, that are putting their lives on the line and whatever. It's still pressure, but I like my role better. I'm not supposed to be the center of focus, but I'm still, like you said, part of the show. And, I'm still a part of it. I get to go out more often in the ring, and it's affording me a lot more opportunities actually as being a referee than I would have as a wrestler. So I'm very grateful to be able to do the position that I'm in.
Of course, appreciate it. Well, DM, I'm sure you got a lot of things going on, but I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining the show today.
All right, thank
We'll
you.
definitely talk soon.
Yes, thank you.
It. Bye. And we are back. Now we're here with wrestling superfan Mittens. Mittens, how are you today?
I'm doing great today.
Awesome. So first of all, I don't know that we've actually formally met before today. We've definitely passed crowds at other shows. You're always out there. You've had a lot of notable moments on TV. But it's obviously cool to meet you. Most recently, I'd say, I'm not sure if you saw, you probably did. I photobombed one of your pictures from the Hammerstein show last week.
Yes, I seen that. That was so good.
So for those of you that don't know, last week, GCW Wrestling had a show at the Hammerstein Ballroom. And obviously lots of notables, lots of randoms there. Mittens was down in the basement taking pictures with two other, let's say, notable fans. And somehow randomly, I was behind them and I photobombed them. Thought nothing of it because I do dumb, stupid stuff like that all the time. A few days later, a buddy of mine sent me the picture and was like, hey, I found you. And I was like, hey, it is me. And it happened to be Mittens' picture, which I think was on his Instagram.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
So it's absolutely a small world. You never know. I mean, years ago, a picture would never, ever show up again. But here with social media and the internet, you never know where it's going to come up, right?
Absolutely.
Cool. So, Mittens, anything you'd like to share or anything you want to get off your chest about wrestling, what you're excited about? Like, what makes Mittens Mittens?
I just love professional wrestling. I'm a lifelong fan of professional wrestling. And I just took this on the journey, got myself involved, and now I'm just traveling everywhere, just doing what I do, just being Mittens.
Very awesome. Well, I mean, pro wrestling is an amazing time, right? Even when wrestling's bad, it's still good. I mean, years ago, there was $5 wrestling. Obviously, Botchamania has its place. So no matter what or whatever, at the end of the day, it's making friends, making moments, and having a good time.
Absolutely. I have a lot of friends within wrestling. Like, they're some of my best friends in the world now. It's crazy. Small world, man.
It is.
And they're worldwide, too. It's crazy.
100%. Anything you'd like to promote or support? Any socials you want to put out there?
So on X, I'm indie_mittens, and on Instagram, I'm indie_mittens_. And then I also want to promote at ICW NHP, because that's my home company. Also, I want to promote PWJ Card, because
of course,
PWJ Cards, we're here today. It's going to be a stacked show. It's going to be on High Spots later. Yep.
Of course, and to add to that also, if at home you want to get any of the PWJ cards, go to pwjcards.com. They have a great assortment of various wrestlers. They have various celebrities, autographed. They have some, let's say, more novelty type cards as well. You want it, they probably have it. So check it out. Some really cool stuff. With that said, Mittens, thank you so much. It was great meeting you.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. We'll cross paths again. Take care.
Absolutely.
And we are back with wrestling indie superstar Marcus Mathers. That's Philly's finest. How are you doing today, Mr. Mathers?
I'm doing really, really good. Today I have a huge match, a dream match, you would say. So I'm in a great mood. Ever since I landed today at this place, I'm in a great mood. I'm pumped. I'm ready for it.
Amazing. So for those of you that aren't aware of Marcus's work, he's been everywhere over the last year, 2 years, whatever. A couple years ago, I saw him on IWTV. There was a Life of documentary on Marcus. If you haven't checked it out, I definitely suggest you do. Lots of fun. You see a little bit about who Marcus is. You see kind of his family. It's really, really touching, and it's amazing. And if you didn't like him already, it definitely has a lot to sell who Marcus Mathers is.
Yes, please.
Beyond that, I'd say, I've seen a lot of him in GCW the last couple of years. Game Changer Wrestling. Go check it out if you haven't before. Marcus, anything you'd like to talk about, your wrestling life, your personal life? Just get your story out there.
Yeah, please. I'm 21 years old. I've been wrestling for 6 years now. I poured my heart and soul to that life of IWTV. There's a chance you can watch it, please do. I ran a show, and it was revolved around me running a show. So you get to see how I ran the show. You get to see my personal life. It's a wild one, but it's awesome. I poured my soul into that. But I'm signed to WWE ID. It's a great experience. I'm loving every second of it. Game Changer Wrestling. We just were at Hammerstein Ballroom.
Amazing.
I had a great match, great scramble. We won't talk about the ending of that scramble, but it was great.
Yeah, my stream ran out by the end, so I didn't even see who won. I mean, I assume you won probably, right?
There we go. I did a lot of cool stuff, though.
Always.
I'm current independent wrestling world champion too. That's the top you can be on IWTV, and that's where I sit. I sit at the top, and I'm the world champion of the independents. So it's pretty cool to have. And I have my first defense this Thursday against Gabriel Sky.
Very cool. Very cool. One thing I'll say about Marcus Mathers is win or lose, he puts on a damn good show. It's always fun. It's always a match that you remember, whether it be against Alley Cash, whether it be against Effie, whoever it is. It's always a fun show. And you're always one of the reasons why I like to go to see GCW wrestling. So thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, I always try to pour my heart and soul to that ring. I love this stuff. It's why, this is my one and only true love, I always say, So whether it doesn't matter how many people are in the crowd, doesn't matter what match I'm in, singles, scramble, doesn't matter. I'm going to pour my heart and soul to that ring and do whatever it takes to get that W.
And we always appreciate it. One thing I'll also add too is your gear is always on point. Back at the Collective, back in Philly last year, your Philadelphia Phillies gear you had was amazing. It really was like a spin-off or whatever of the actual uniforms. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, thank you. Everybody has said something about that gear, and it's probably my second favorite gear now since I got a new pair, a nice white and gold pair. I wore a Hammerstein, I wore it tonight. But I love that gear so much. It came out perfect. What a perfect time too. Philadelphia Mania Week, my hometown, Philly's finest hometown. I had to do something like that. I had to. And I'm always been a Phillies fan. Of course, Eagles, go Birds. Always been, Philadelphia sports team fan. But the Phillies, I've always had a more. I don't know, I've always been there. Not a lot of Eagles games, but always Phillies games, always playing for bobbleheads. I've always been there.
Of course. Well, Marcus, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Good luck tonight.
Thank you so much.
And go Eagles tonight also,
yes.
Right?
Go Birds! Let's go. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we are back, still here at the PWJ live show. I'm with another professional wrestler. Want to introduce yourself?
My name is the Stunner, Emily J. And I'm not going to be performing tonight against none other than Brittany Brooks, Eden Gray, and Gabby Forza. But you know what? None of them are as stunning as me.
Obviously. And we're here to talk to Emily. That's why you're here, right, Emily?
Of course.
Absolutely. So first of all, Emily, thank you for joining the show. Really appreciate it.
Of course.
Can you give us a little background in terms of, what you've done recently, other shows you've done, kind of who is Emily?
So I am based out of Virginia, and I travel up and down the East Coast. I'm normally in North Carolina, trying to get that Fire Stars Women's Wrestling Championship. And I'm even a tag champion here in New Jersey.
Very awesome. Which company?
BCW.
Very cool. Very cool. So you said you're wrestling tonight. Obviously, you're going to win tonight, right?
Obviously.
What is your finisher? What do you usually hit them with?
Well, I'm stunning.
Obviously.
So my finish is the Stunner.
Makes sense. What else would it be, right?
But it has a little twist to it that you'll have to see tonight.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that. Anything you'd like to support or promote at this point? Social medias, whatever?
You can follow me on all social media platforms at MLJ Pro.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, looking forward to great things tonight, even greater things in the future from you. Thanks again for joining the show. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we're back with Zeta Steele. You may have seen her last week at GCW's Hammerstein Ballroom in the Battle Royal, where her and Brooke Havoc, I believe, were going at it pretty tough there. But here we are live from PWG. She's got a big match tonight, a big three-way with Deanna Perazzo and the high end is Zeta Steele. Zeta, how are you today?
I'm great. I'm going to keep staring at myself because I'm not used to wearing a headset. But yeah, I'm doing amazing, You brought up Hammerstein, by the way. I don't think I actually went over the top rope, so we might have to ask Brett to put me in there with PCO or something.
Very cool. I don't know if you want to go into PCO. I mean, he's done some crazy stuff recently. I mean,
Maybe not this version right now, but I also can do crazy stuff. Tonight I might show a little bit of what I can do.
Of course. I mean, you had a really great approach, I would say, where you kind of stayed low. You did the old, was it the Road Dog from the Royal Rumble like 20 years ago? Hanging low. If you're low to the ground, they can't kick you out of there.
Honestly, I was outside the ring because there was no space in that ring the whole time. I was just like, let me just hide under. I tweeted out, Hopefully Boogeyman doesn't come out, and he didn't. So I'm happy. I'm happy.
For those that didn't see it, at the Hammerstein Ballroom last weekend, GCW, Zeta Steel was one of, it felt like 100 people that were in the Battle Royal.
Yeah.
Like, there was a lot. And just when you thought everybody was out there, music would hit, somebody else comes out. You never know what's going to happen. But
Yeah.
again, first of all, Zeta, it's great to have you on the show. I'm also super proud of the fact that this podcast, Everybody Has a Story with Jeff Seltzer, is the official match sponsor for Zeta Steel versus the High End versus Deanna Parazzo. Obviously, a big name match. We've got an ID'd wrestler in the match. We have an AEW superstar in the match, and we have an up-and-comer in the match. So this is probably one of the ones that's going to have most of the eyeballs on. So
Thank
really,
you for sponsoring this. This is an interesting triple threat. Everyone, when it first was announced, they were like, "This is an odd pairing of individuals," but
I mean,
that just makes for a great match. So.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
This is something I love about pro wrestling, right? Like 20 years ago, you would never see a WCW versus an ECW versus a WWE wrestler. But here you have three people representing three different organizations in theory. You know, and it can happen, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm in the match and I'm excited. So I don't know what's going to happen.
We'll go with that. So
but I'm going to win. That's what I know is going to happen. Let me
Obviously.
clarify. Yeah.
Obviously, my money's all on Zeta Steel, DraftKings, FanDuel. That's where all the cash is right now. For those that don't know who Zeta Steel is, can you tell us a little about your background, who you are, and kind of how you got into wrestling?
Yeah, I'm 21 years old. I am from Virginia, but I'll just say I'm from the DMV area. I've been watching wrestling all my life. I knew as soon as I turned 18, I was going to apply for wrestling school, and the rest is history. 3 years later, I went to Japan. I got WID, so my future's so far looking good. So.
That's awesome. So in Japan, who did you wrestle for? Did you wrestle in Kurikan Hall? Like, where did you wrestle at?
Oh yeah, my debut was in Kurikan Hall.
Really?
It was for Marigold. It was
cool.
Rossi's new women's company.
Very
I was
awesome.
there for 4 months. We're not going to talk about my time there because I don't think my win-loss record was the best, but I did learn a lot. So
look, how many wrestlers spend their entire career just trying to get to Japan, right? And the fact that you
2 years in to say I got to Japan I'm just grateful.
Nice. And not to get too deep into it either, but I actually was in Japan about 6 months ago. So Stardom show at Kurikan Hall. It's one of the craziest, weirdest buildings you can ever be in. Like Kurikan Hall, for those that don't know, is a notable building that has a lot of wrestling shows. It's on like the 5th floor of the building.
Yeah.
It's very, very bizarre. I could tell stories and stories about my lack of Japanese, how well it got me over there or whatever. But it's a crazy place. But I mean, this early in your career, wrestling over there.
I liked going to Kirkin just to see the Tokyo Dome because
Yes.
it's like in the same vicinity. That
Absolutely.
was other than that's a sick venue. Outside seeing the Tokyo Dome, it's just like, wow, I'm here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Who did you train with? Like, where did you train at?
I trained in a school in Maryland, and then about a couple months later, realized, maybe I should move elsewhere. So I started training at CZW, and that's where I really got my start. My first consistent bookings, my first match was against Trish Adora, which
That's awesome.
why they would throw a green girl with Trish Adora and think I would win is crazy. But hey, let's run it back, Trish, if you're watching. Yeah, let's clip this and tag Trish.
Absolutely. Trish Adora, if you're out there in the infantry, we got this. Zeta Steel, Trish Adora 2 is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, Zeta, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it, and good luck tonight.
Thank you
It's great
so
to meet
much.
you.
Yay.
Awesome. Thank you. And we're back from PWJ Live. Here we are with Tarzan. Tarzan, how are you doing today?
Woo! I'm feeling pretty good, man. How are you doing?
I'm very good. Thank you for asking. So first of all, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. Thank you so much.
Of course.
So tonight, we're obviously here at PWJ Live at the Mecca in Ridgefield Park. Who are you wrestling tonight?
I'm actually just out here hanging out tonight. So I'm not currently on this show today, but I'm out here scouting, basically.
Oh, even better. Very cool. So what are you looking for when you're scouting out?
You know, I'm looking at the different wrestlers. You know what I mean? I'm checking out their sizes, what their ability, what they can do in the ring. You know, all right. They got some explosives. They got
Your pyro just went off. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, you gotta love that shit. But yeah, man. You know, I'm looking for worthy opponents out here.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Do you generally work in? I see you had a JCW jacket on. Do you work with JCW or are there other companies?
Yes. I work for Juggalo Championship Wrestling. I got my Juggalo fucking hat on.
Very cool.
Normally when I wrestle, you know, Tarzan Devil, Tarzan Win, so I wear face paint, I got my hat, mask, and all that stuff, and I just rock it. You know.
Very cool. So you go you text out to Mr. J, Climb Violent, and say, "This is what I've seen. We should bring these guys in."
Yeah, the Duke, man. Yeah, fucking Violent J's awesome, man. I'm glad to be fucking aboard of JCW. So, what's up, brother? Good to see you, man.
Very cool. How are you?
Come on, nice to meet you.
Great to meet you. Awesome. Live podcasting, anything can happen. People stopping by, people moving around or whatever. But Tarzan, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. Is there anything that people can find you in socials, or how can they reach out to you if they want to see you?
Yeah, Tarzanian_Devil on Instagram. You can find me as Tarzan Duran on X, and also Wildlife Tarzan on Facebook, man.
Awesome.
I'm around.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Oh yeah, thank you, dude.
Appreciate it. And we are back with Hyan over here at PWJ Live at the Mecca at Ridgefield Park. So first of all, Hyan, thank you for joining the show. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So for those of you that don't know, I'm really excited specifically for having Hyan on the show because this podcast, or I guess me specifically, is the official match sponsor for Hyan versus Zeta Steel versus Deanna Purrazzo, which, much like we talked about earlier with Zeta Steel, is just an incredible matchup, right? We have an AEW superstar against an ID superstar against a hot up-and-comer who's coming through the ranks or whatever. So definitely a lot of things to look out for in this match. Definitely going to be a fun, fantastic, fast-paced match, I'd imagine.
Yes, I think it's going to be the first time all of us have wrestled each other. I've never wrestled Zeta before, and I've never wrestled Deanna before, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
That's very cool. So for those of you that don't know who Hyan is, would you mind giving us a little background on who is Hyan?
Yeah, my name is Hyan. I'm from Houston, Texas. I've been wrestling now for going on 10 years. I've been in all over England, the U.S., Japan, Europe, Germany, and excited to be here tonight.
Very, very cool. I think via Instagram, I saw that you flew in this morning, right?
Yes, this morning, and then fly back tonight.
Oh, wow. That's a full day, isn't it? Round trip flight plus a wrestling match.
Yes. I think after my match, I have to get dressed and go straight to the airport.
Well, I guess they save it in the hotel that way, right?
Yeah. I don't really mind. I like to get home, sleep in my own bed, so no complaints on my end.
Totally understood. It makes sense. So what's coming after this show, obviously? What else is in your future? Like, do you have any big events you want to plug? Anything that you're excited about? Who are you going to wrestle next?
Yeah, so I have a couple days ago, I was over at TNA.
Nice.
I believe my episode comes out next Tuesday or Thursday.
Thursday? Yep.
And I have that coming up, so I think everyone's going to be really excited to see who my opponent is, if they haven't already seen on Twitter. And I also debut on Netflix on Thursday because I did some stuff where I wrote for this show called Mo.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it comes out on Thursday, so I'm really excited to see how that came out.
That's really, really awesome. So a lot of big things in your future, it seems like, right?
Yeah. TV stuff. We love it.
Well, TV stuff is great, right? I mean, especially with streaming, there's so many things out there. Plus, when this show eventually hits highspots.tv, that'll be out there as well. So, I mean, Hyan's going to be everywhere.
Yes, exactly.
Very awesome. Any socials, whatever you want to plug in terms of how people can find you, get a hold of you, look for you in the future?
Yeah, so on Instagram, it is at the Hyan, so THEHYAN. On Twitter, it is _the Hyan, THEHYAN.
Very cool, very cool. If you had to put out like one goal or one, like, where's Hyan a year or 2 years from now? Like, what is it? Like, what is your kind of like your bucket list thing that you want to do next?
Right now, I really want to wrestle in Canada and Mexico because I've never wrestled there before. And I really enjoy wrestling internationally. And after that, a full-time TV gig. I think at this point, I don't know what else there's left to do.
Very awesome. Well, Hyan, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much. It's great to meet you.
Thank you.
Good luck tonight.
Thank you.
And we are back here live at PWJ at the Mecca in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. Now my guest is Ray Sanchez, another fellow podcaster. Ray, it's great to meet you.
Likewise, Jeff. How's everything going, man? How are you feeling to be at the Mecca here today?
I'm really excited. I mean, I've seen GCW shows for years on TV here, but I've never actually been in the building. So for me, it's such an experience to come in, see it. Much like years ago back in college, I used to go to the ECW arena all the time.
Gotcha.
Because I'm much older than I look at this point. But when I would see ECW on TV, the ECW arena looked ginormous. But when you would actually go into it, and this is before they renovated or whatever, it was tiny. It was a real just garbage dump for the most part.
I got you. No, but it's that feel though. Like being at the Mecca, you're gonna see it here tonight. Just how that family feel, how the room is gonna just. It's gonna be a whole different movie tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I will say to everybody listening at home, so Ray is another podcaster. The way that I first met Ray was he actually hosted a podcast yesterday.
Yep.
How's it going? He actually hosted a podcast yesterday with Gil, who runs PWJ, which got my attention. Immediately reached out to him, was like, hey, great podcast. This is awesome. Great to hear it or whatever. So super excited to have another podcaster on.
Thank you.
I'm still very new in the podcast game. I first launched about 6 months ago, back in July.
Ooh, okay, so you're still very new to this. It's still the baby. It's on those.
I was going to say,
exactly.
Exactly. I'm a baby. I'm still trying to figure out like who I am, what I am, who my audience is, trying to get whatever. This is one opportunity that I saw, and I was like, hey, if I could sponsor a wrestling show, maybe get a couple interviews, whatever else like that, get my name out there, knowing that I can sponsor a match, but also this will be on High Spots TV, little things like that, get the name out there. If I get 2 new listeners or viewers out of this, that's a win. Like little by little, get them to tell somebody else, and at that point, just kind of grow exponentially. At this point, you've been on a podcast for how long?
Oof, it's been continuing this one for about 3 years now.
Okay, that's awesome.
But then podcasting in general has been the better part of 5.
Oh, so you're more of the podcasting godfather versus me at this point.
Hey, again, but we all start somewhere, man. Like,
absolutely.
I feel like it's one of those where you're at a better spot because you get to find everything now. And wrestling currently, it's in its blooming stage. You have events like this. You have like an event that I will be putting on in a few months. Respect, like it's at a time where wrestling is at its high. With companies like this, companies like GCW, companies like Arrival, like you have so much talent out there that you're gonna grow like nothing really. So.
Absolutely. So I would say, again, I'm only 6 months in, and I definitely already see an evolution versus where I started. You've been podcasting your current podcast for 3 years, but longer than that for like 5 or so years. Yeah. I'd imagine you probably listened to your first episode and you're like, oh, you're winced a little bit. And you're like, who is that guy, right?
So that's the biggest thing. I'm not sure about you. Even hearing my voice at times, I'm still like, it cringes. But hearing that from like 3 years ago, even starting this one, seeing the quality and seeing the changes, it's just like, like who was that? Like even microphone style. Like I also use StreamYard, so seeing the growth from that has been just a whole different just jump from where I was 3 years ago to see where I am now.
Which is amazing. I'll say this like for myself, like even like my confidence has exploded since then, right? So your first episode, like for me anyway, like I was highly scripted and like it came across like I was reading a script. At this point, I'm more bullets, more notes, more conversational, and I feel it comes across more naturally. Like I'm a human and you're a human, and we're talking as opposed to, okay, what do you think about this? How is everything go? You know what I mean?
That's going to be my biggest recommendation with this. Just have a conversation.
Right.
Don't write it out. Don't plan it out. Like, yes, there's going to be little details like, oh, I know they have this match coming up, or, oh, I know they trained here, stuff like that. But when it comes to speaking to each person, just let it flow. Let it flow because it comes off so much genuine and you get to enjoy the conversation between yourself and your guest.
Awesome. I appreciate it, Ray. What I would ask is, if you don't mind, I'd love to have on a full episode in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, because this is obviously going to be a bunch of random interviews, conversations put together for content, whatever. But I'd love to dig deeper into your podcast past, how you got into it, stuff like that, in a future conversation if that's cool with
definitely. You. Again, hit me up, and like anyone that's listening to this, hit me up. Everything is RTC Pod. I'm more than willing to help out anyone because that's what we need. Again, people that genuinely have that respect for this, have that love for this. I saw some of your stuff already, and again, you have sky's the limit now. Sky's the limit.
Also, appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we are back here at PWJ Live at the Mecca in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. I'm honored that my guest at this point is Deanna Parazzo. Deanna, how are you today?
I'm great. It feels good to be home. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. So for those that don't know, Deanna Parazzo is a Jersey native. She's done it all. She, I believe, trained in, Hackettstown with Damian Adams, is it?
A little bit, yes. But we got started in Wharton, New Jersey, which is right around the corner from where I'm from.
Okay, very cool. I'm a Rockaway Township guy myself, so right over there as well.
Oh, so right there, yeah. I grew up in Lake Packard, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool, local. So again, for those that don't know, Deanna's done it all. NXT, TNA, AEW current superstar, which is amazing to see as well. She's been everywhere. Tonight, specifically, she'll be at the Mecca in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey, fighting against Zeta Steel and Hyon, which would be an amazing match. I'm really looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I've actually never been in the ring with either of these girls, and they're killing it on the indies right now. I'm always watching looking at up-and-coming women and what they're doing on the indies, so I'm so excited to be back on the indies. It feels like a little bit of a homecoming, literally in my home, but also to the independent wrestling world and getting into it, which is the top independent wrestling stars. I'm so excited.
Of course. Were you in Jacksonville yesterday for the AEW show?
I was, yeah. I wrestled on Collision in a 4-way match where the winner, which unfortunately was not me, goes on to wrestle with James Monet for the TBS Championship on Wednesday.
You were robbed, I'm sure, is what happened, right?
You know what I actually was? Thank you. Maybe mine and Taya's lawyer needs to get better.
Awesome. Well, just as a reminder to everybody watching at home, this podcast is the official sponsor of Deonna Purrazzo against Zeta Steel against Hyon, so obviously super honored to be able to support professional wrestling, and more importantly, as I have 2 daughters at home, to be able to sponsor and promote female wrestling as well, which is amazing.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. I had no idea. So I already thanked you for having us here, but that makes it even more special. I hope they'll be watching.
Eventually when it's on High Spots TV, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Good.
Very cool. Well, Deonna, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. It was great to meet you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.
You or
wherever.
Okay.
And we are back at PWJ Live at the Mecca in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey, this time with Steve Macklin, TNA superstar. How are you today, Steve?
I'm doing well. It's good to be back in New Jersey. I'm about 15 minutes from the hometown that I grew up in Rutherford, so it's pretty cool.
Very cool. We just had your better half, Deonna, on, also a New Jersey native.
Yes.
Myself, New Jersey native as well. I've lived here for the last 42 years at this point, so definitely, New Jersey's, we get a bad rap, don't we?
We do, but I also don't miss it living in Florida right now, even though it's about the same temperature down there as it is up here, which is kind of weird. But
that's fair. So tonight you are facing Charles Mason in the main event. Is that correct? Have you fought Charles before?
We have at PW Revolver in Philadelphia over this past Mania weekend.
Oh, wow. And how did that match go?
I ended up in the street, so it was pretty good.
Is that a little foreshadowing of what happened today, you think?
Maybe. I did see some snow on the ground outside, so I was like, maybe snowball fight, maybe something there. We'll see.
That could be fun, definitely. So right now you're rocking it on TNA. I saw, was it last weekend? I think you had a tag team match against The System. Was that right?
Yes, at Genesis.
At Genesis, right? Big show. Lots of great things happening at TNA now, so always excited to see you on TV.
TNA is alive and well and live. So to be live now on television at least once or twice a month, getting a live content out on the TNA Plus app is awesome. And then just the houses are up. The atmosphere, the vibe in the locker room is hungrier than ever. It's always had that chip on its shoulder, but now it's even bigger.
Absolutely. So for those that don't know at home, so TNA Wrestling has been around since, I believe, 2002. A lot of big names are in there right now, a lot of big names from years ago. AJ Styles got his first big break there, lots of names like that. TNA Plus is an amazing subscription app that TNA has out there that has all of the pay-per-views, both current and previous. It has all of the live weekly shows. It has everything out there. Probably the best wrestling streaming service you can get these days. So I enjoy it. You should check it out yourself as well.
I fully agree. I go back when I'm doing cardio. I'm trying to go back to the library and watch everything from the early days to now and some of my old matches too.
Yeah, you're ever bored? You put on an old Abyss match, or who knows who's going to be on there, right?
All the X Division matches of AJ, Frankie, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe. The list goes on.
Awesome. Well, Steve, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. And we are back, this time with Sean Grayson, who's another sponsor of this huge event that's happening here at the Mecca at Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. Sean, it's great to meet you.
You too. You too.
So Sean and his company are actually the sponsors of the main event tonight between my previous guest, Steve Macklin, and Charles Mason, which should be an amazing fight.
Absolutely, it should be. I met Steve around WrestleMania weekend last year. Could have been a nicer guy. Saw the sponsorship opportunity. And I'm a huge bit of fan since I was 3 years old. It made sense to be able to sponsor organizations, kind of small to medium-sized businesses. It makes 100% sense to do bars, shakes, it seems to be a hit during WrestleMania weekend. So I'm carrying it over to being the wheels.
Very cool, yeah. Myself as well, as a small business trying to get up and running or whatever, the price to support independent wrestling is such a low barrier of entry.
100%.
That it's so worth it to get out there, even if I don't make any money off of it.
Yeah.
Just being able to know that I support it and helping other people out, something I love watching, is fantastic.
The huge benefit is being able to, like you said, the price to get into it, right? Really low end. You know, you're not sitting here sponsoring a professional golfer where you're paying $100,000 to get the brand on your polo. In this situation, you're doing twofold things, right? You're getting it from an audience perspective, which, I mean, let's be clear, professional wrestling, you know, so weight loss bars and meal replacement bars could also make a little bit of sense.
Of course.
Right? And the wrestlers love it because it's different. So, like, you know, they're in the back, they're eating different things, they got the chips, they got the goldfish, but they're sending out meal replacement bars and protein shakes, which is something they do anyway.
On the flip side, my podcast provided the pizza for the guys downstairs, so kind of
Right.
do the opposite of what you're trying to do. So
WrestleMania weekend, we sponsored Meanie Mania, it's the Blue Meanies party at a bar in South Philly, and we sponsored the food. Like, we brought weight loss bars, but we didn't. We also sponsored what they brought, which was food. So when we were on Busted Open Radio, the Blue Meanie was like, yeah, we got a weight loss doctor sponsoring pizza and wings. It was right. It didn't make sense, but it made sense, right? Like,
Sure.
It was awkward, but it was fun.
Yeah, of course.
You know, like cheesesteaks and a weight loss, and like, hey, while you're doing that, you know, get a weight loss bar, get a meal replacement bar while you're at it. So, yeah.
Of course. So to that point then, can you maybe give a little plug for what your company is? You've talked about the fact that it's weight loss, that it is helping people out and such like that. Like, what is the company? What do they actually do?
Sure. So Dr. Fisher's Medical Weight Loss and Aesthetic Centers is the biggest weight loss centers in Philly. Four offices, around 10,000 patients. Typically they do, obviously, the meal plans, they do meal replacements, they do pills, right? Weight loss pills, as well as the other highly visible weight loss options
Of course.
that you see in the market right now.
Yes.
Right? With a cheaper way of doing it. Typically they cater to, you know, a plethora of things. So, right? So they cater to the rich, they cater to the mid-level, and we've been able to essentially, for years, be that number one brand in the Philly area. I mean, 10,000 patients can't be wrong.
Right.
So it's beneficial and it's ever evolving. Weight loss, eating well, meal replacement, it's an ever evolving source. What you knew last year, you're learning new things this year. You know, pills and things were the way the past, essentially. Now you have the injections and those things as well. What's going to happen in 6 months, a year, maybe something else. We want to be on the cutting edge of it. And so coming to these kind of events and doing different things outside of the norm is something that I've kind of championed to this. And I started last year, and it's worked well ever since.
Very awesome. Well, again, thank you for sharing your story.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it. It's great to meet you.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Let's have a great time at wrestling tonight, right? Cool. Take care.
All right.
And we are back at the PWJ live show here at the Mecca in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. Once again, you might remember this guy from, the 5th episode or so of the podcast. This is my buddy, Daniel Ireland. Daniel, how are you today?
I'm wonderful. What a fun afternoon. This is awesome.
This has been amazing. So first of all, I do want to thank you, Daniel, as well as my buddy John, who will be here shortly as well, for assisting as sponsoring a wrestling show as well as doing a live podcast. Is a lot more challenging than it really seems like it should be, right? In terms of getting the technology right, signage right, and even just bringing in guests to talk to. So, Daniel, first of all, thank you so much for everything that you've done. Really, really appreciate it.
No worries. You're welcome. It's fun to be here.
It's funny. We did talk about this probably a little while ago, that outside of me and you, I'm not sure anybody else would really enjoy this. But for us, as a joke, we even said, as much as we enjoy sponsoring this and paying for this and just sitting here and recording, we would have paid this kind of money to just sit here as a fly on the wall and watch for 4 hours. Because watching them set up matches and do all sorts of stuff, for me as a wrestling fan, is just next worldly, you know?
Oh, totally. This is just incredible. The chance to get the access to these wrestlers you never get. It's kind of like a peek behind the scenes. It's definitely an interesting way to do it. It's going to be so much fun watching the matches go on. Having seen the guys warm up in the ring, having seen them running over downstairs. It's definitely a different experience, and totally agree. Worth every penny.
It's crazy. And I mean, I'll say, just to throw it out there again too. So Gil, who runs this wrestling show, heard stories and I've seen things about various wrestling promoters. Like, he could not have been nicer and more accommodating the entire time we were here. Like, as soon as we got here, he showed us where we could set up. He got a power outlet for the technology. Like, I'd say all in, like, one of the nicest people that I've probably ever met in life, which is crazy.
You're so right. It's really cool to turn up, because normally we go to wrestling events and we turn up when the doors open, and then you kind of see everything done. Like, to see behind the scenes the amount of work, the amount of testing, the amount of practice that goes into it, it's pretty incredible to see. So yeah, I'm pumped. It's been a fun afternoon and really awesome night.
Absolutely. So for those of you that either aren't or haven't listened, I believe last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, a podcast with myself, Daniel, and Marcus talking about sports cars probably dropped. So I would suggest you go back and take a listen to it. It was a fun talk, a fun listen. And again, go back to, I think it was episode 5, where it was me, Daniel, my buddy Steve, talking about our trip to Philly last year for WrestleMania. It was ridiculous. It was fun. Definitely a great listen. So definitely check it out. Daniel, anything you want to support or anything you want to promote, or are you good?
No, just again, congratulations, Jeff. This is awesome. Great to see how the podcast continues to build. And hopefully this is the first of many on occasion events.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Daniel. We'll talk soon. And we're back here at PWJ Live at the Mecca in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. My next guest is an amazing guy who you might remember from episode 1, which to date is our highest streamed episode so far. So Dana, welcome back to the show. How are you today?
I'm good. I feel like I should be on a patio somewhere.
I guess I didn't really set you up properly with that one that time. Additionally, every guest since then I've told don't curse, but I think we broke that rule today with, not surprisingly, a wrestler or whatever. So here we are. We'll see if we edit it out or how that goes. But anyhow, Dana, it's great to see you in person.
Great to see you. I don't know if I should look at you like this way or on the screen.
It's like 3D, 4D, or even 5D at this point. So for those of you that don't know, Dana, and I think we mentioned it on the previous podcast, but that was like 5 years and a day ago, does run a company called Marked Out, as you could probably almost see on his sweatshirt if you're watching the video version right now.
Yes.
Dana has been super successful with his business partner, Sean, today, basically doing signings with almost every wrestler that's here today. Is that right?
Yeah, I think I actually caught secondhand carpal tunnel.
It's crazy. I mean, you've been definitely hustling since I got here at like 12:15, 12:30, and you're already hard at work at that point. It's amazing to see that you're driving, you're pushing as hard as you can, you're doing a lot of great work. So obviously the fans out there that pre-ordered or bought stuff from you really appreciate it.
I appreciate them. You know, while we're here, we got to work hard, just make sure everything gets done right. And so far, not a single complaint.
Which is amazing to hear. So as a reminder for those of you listening at home as well, Dana is also on, I'm going to call my sister podcast or brother podcast or however you want to call it.
I think either way.
Either one, maybe a cousin. I'm not sure how it works. But for those of you who don't remember, Marked Out Radio dropped literally, I think, days before episode 1 of this podcast did. So we're basically, I don't know, like twins of some kind. I don't know. Slightly different topics. But with that said, I mean, Dana and Sean have been killing it with all the topics talking about wrestling conventions, signings in general, just kind of like, you know, how this whole world goes. Again, episode 1 talks about celebrity autographs, but his podcast goes 10 times deeper into it. Awesome to hear it, awesome to see it. So definitely check out Marked Out Radio, which is available on all podcast platforms.
Thank you for the plug, man. Absolutely. We try to give people, a wild ride through all the twists and turns of this crazy world that we exist in.
100%. And also as a reminder, obviously, as Dana and Sean are doing signings here today, there are ways to buy those, right? So if somebody wanted, let's say, an autographed 8x10 of Zeta Steel or Casey Navarro or Charles Mason, where would they go?
Oh, well, it's funny you mention those people. We have some great options. They are on our eBay store at Marked Out Collectibles or our Facebook group, which is the Marked Out Collectibles official marketplace.
Awesome. Yeah, the Facebook group is incredible, and it really is almost like the grandson, I guess you can say, of the old Marked Out message boards that existed what feels like a lifetime ago. Which I mean, you've talked about it a lot on your podcast. The fact that like it was definitely an evolution, but you definitely have a lot of the same feels in the Facebook group that you had years ago. A lot of the same people interacting. But at the end of the day, it's basically like-minded people trying to come together to buy and sell and just kind of appreciate, the collecting aspects of life.
Yeah, I think for a little while I was too proud to sort of admit that like message boards are a dying thing. And like now I created the group. And like you said, it's like the grandson of the old forum. And I think it really captures all of that, but, it's under the Facebook umbrella.
Of course. If anybody wants to find you on social media, Dana, how do they find you?
Good question. Dana Frank Runberg on Facebook. Instagram, I'm like, I guess it's the marked.out.collectibles. If you find our website, which is markedoutcollectibles.com, we have all the socials linked.
Very awesome. And just as a reminder, too, Dana and Sean do amazing work. They get a lot of awesome wrestlers, really cool looking signings, really cool looking even custom prints that they make for the signings. So, Dana, keep up the great work and look forward to catching up again sometime soon.
Absolutely, man. I'll see you at the next PWJ show.
Sounds good. And we're back at PWJ Live here at the Mecca in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. If it were a drinking game, you'd be pretty drunk at this point if you took a shot every time that I said that today. But this time, I'm here with actually one of my podcast godfathers. This is Andrew Husfar. Andrew, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you? Happy to be here.
I'm very good, thank you. So for those of you that may or may not remember, Andrew is one of the three guys on the MWO podcast that originally gave me the inspiration to get into podcasting.
Oh, thank you.
Of course, back in April of last year, himself, Billy, and Jake hosted me on. I had a lot of fun. People told me it was a great podcast and that I should start a podcast, which then is what inspired me to do some research. Andrew's been super generous in terms of answering questions, helping me along the way, almost like mentoring me of sorts. So I'm super excited. When I found out he was here, I was like, I got to give him a podcast again. I got to talk to Andrew. So Andrew, first of all, thank you again for everything you've done for me.
Of course. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for consulting to me and thinking I was amazing enough to give you information to help you with your podcast. So it means a lot. Very flattering. I appreciate that so much.
Of course. And just to throw in that also, actually, in theory, I sponsored Andrew coming to the show today because I just realized this about 2 minutes ago. So, not sure if anybody saw on social media, I had a drawing to win 2 tickets for this show. So, the winner of the drawing was Tommy Sapienza, who won the tickets. And then Tommy's guest for his +1 was Husfar, which is really, really exciting. So, Tommy took Andrew. Andrew came to the show. So, it feels like my podcasting life has come full circle at this point, which is crazy.
Oh, absolutely. You call it figure fate in the major pod group, right?
100%. So real quick, before we kind of move on, I did want to throw out the fact that Andrew, obviously, along with being a big wrestling fan, is also a wrestling/referee trainee. So anybody watching on video sees the hat for CAP, for Create a Pro. He does train out, and keep me honest, here in Long Island with Brian Myers and his wrestling school. Can you quickly give us a little bit about what that training looks like and kind of how that life is?
Yeah, absolutely. So pretty much, oh
no,
she swerved me. So pretty much, you just kind of go in, you learn the basics, and then they just show you, like, whoever's there that day kind of just fills you in on whatever information they want to teach you, and it's been a lot of fun. I'm actually training to wrestle, but right now I don't have a job right now, so I can't go to the classes. So when I am ready to come back, I will do that. But I ref right now. I love it so much. It's actually super hard. It's a lot harder than you think it is, but I love doing it. I love just learning, absorbing whatever I can.
Awesome. Well, Andrew, I appreciate you coming on the show. Is there anything you want to plug or any social media you want to put out there or anything you want to say?
Yeah, absolutely. So watch my podcast, Major World Order, on Spotify, wherever you can listen to podcasts. Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, Major Pod Network. We're a part of that as well. So check out all their stuff as well. And scratch that figure itch.
Awesome. Andrew, it's a pleasure as always. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you having me on, of course.
Enjoy the show.
Thank you.
And once again, we are back here at the Mecca, live in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. This time, I'm actually here with one of my longest running friends, Jen Hardy. I guess your last name is now, right? As it's been for a while.
Yep, that's me. We've been friends for 20-some years, so it's been a long time.
It's crazy. I think it was 1996, I want to say, which I guess ages both of us a little bit because we don't look like we're old enough to have known each other since 1996, but you know.
No,
awesome. Awesome. So first of all, Jen, how are you today?
I'm doing good. I almost just got choked out by Charles Mason against my will. So that was interesting.
I did hear that. Your sister, who we'll talk to in a moment, is sitting next to you, signed you up on a bit of a suicide pact there, where basically she was going to sign the waiver and you were going to get choked out. Is that kind of what happened?
it wasn't even. She handed over the money, and she was like, "You go first." And he puts his hand on my shoulders, and he's like, "You want to get choked out? This is what's going to happen." And I was like, "No, no." And then he's like, "What do you want?" And I said, "Just a picture." So he's looking at me. Then he's like, "Okay." And then he choked me, but like with a picture. And he was like, "I could feel your pulse." I'm like, "Yeah, I just escaped almost being put in a sleeper hold." So.
Well, on a similar note, I was at the Hammerstein GCW wrestling show last week, and Dr. Redacted almost choked me out for free. So I guess I got a bargain in this situation versus your sister paid $20 for it. So
I mean, that's a deal. I got to get her choked out. Then she chickened out and didn't want to do it.
Oh, boo.
I would have paid Charles Mason to choke her extra for all the years I used to choke her.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, I remember back in the Ficini household, the first time I was back over at your house, it was, it was your parents, 5 siblings. I think somebody was beating someone else with a banana. Like, it was crazy times.
Always a wrestling live show at the Ficini household. You couldn't miss coming over because you never knew what the main event was going to be.
Absolutely. Well, Jen, it's been a pleasure as always to have you on the show. Anything you'd like to support or plug or promote while you're on?
I would like to support your podcast. Everybody listen to Jeff's podcast. He's put a lot of effort into this. He's really good at what he does, and I hope it will be as successful as I think it will be.
Awesome. Jen, thank you so much. It's great to see you as always.
All right,
Appreciate
thanks, Jeff.
And now we are back with the other Ficini sister. Now we're back with Lori. Lori, how are you today?
Hi, how are you, Jeff? It's good to see you.
You as well. So for those of you at home, again, I met Jen years and years ago. I met Jen because of Lori, because not sure anybody knows this or remembers this. In an episode previously, I talked about how I worked at the mall in Menlo Park Mall. I worked in a CVS, but I also worked in a Sam Goody at one point. And that's where myself and Lori met back in 1996, I want to say it was.
Yeah, it was definitely like the Empire Records scenario where, like, everybody was crazy and everybody was a character. It could have been a reality show before reality shows.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it was crazy times, all for $5.20 an hour for me, which was insane.
If you were good, you got the extra 7 cents. And I think when I went to key holder, I got an extra 25 cents.
Look at you, the big time with the extra 25 cents. That's huge, right?
Could afford the bus pass then.
Of course. Also, little known fact, when Lori and I worked at Sam Goody, there were also 2, let's say, wrestling adjacent people who worked there as well. There was one guy, CJ Summers, who eventually became an indie wrestler. I'm not sure what happened to him. And the other one, who I think was an announcer for 3PW at one point, went by Mr. Mike Winter, who was just kind of the antithesis of a wrestler. He was the most bland, boring type of person in real life. You'd never expect him to be in the wrestling industry,
He had the razzle dazzle. All of a sudden, it's like you flicked the switch and it came on.
It's crazy how that works,
I mean, CJ Summers, if you're out there, CJ, hit us up. We want to know where you are. Last I heard, he was in Florida. He also went by Pennywise the Clown. He was big in the Philadelphia area for a while. I used to actually do, go on the road with him. It was, typical indie wrestling nonsense, I'll say, where it was my car or someone else's car. We drove him around. He sold his merchandise. It was definitely handshakes and hot dog kind of nonsense. I'll leave it at that.
Of course. Well,
although I will say really quick, it was back in the day when kayfabe was still a thing, and I actually had to shake hands with people. It was like him, Bobby Piper, somebody else from the Philly area. But I basically had to say I wouldn't tell what the magic was, and I wouldn't reveal what was behind the curtain. And I would sit in and I would have like strip the mattress.
Look, I've been here since noon. There's no magic. There's no behind the curtain. Everything just happens. It's real. I mean, this is what I'm paying for. This is like UFC, right?
It's real?
Yes.
It's still real to me, damn it.
That's right. Absolutely. And with that said, obviously, thank you as always. It's great having you on the podcast. It's been, 30 years at this point?
Yes, 30 years. Can you believe it?
Don't worry. Merch is coming soon.
I'm very old.
We'll make some T-shirts, some hats, some stickers. 30 years.
We have to have an anniversary party.
We'll work on it also. Well, thank you as always. I appreciate it.
And I would like to promote, too, anybody who's my friend out there who might be listening to this guy's the real deal. Everybody, make sure you do that. Everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer. That's the podcast. Check it out.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.